Hi, I'm Jim Bergeron, pastor at Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Houston, Texas, and this is a sermon for the sixth Sunday of Easter, uh, May 25th, 2025, based on John 5, 1 to 9. Do you want to be strong? Victor showed up at the Lindsberg Municipal Swimming Pool one hot summer Sunday. He was Russian. He spoke perfect English with a slight accent. He was a soldier at Fort Riley in Manhattan, Kansas. So we figured he slipped away from maybe a swimming or gymnastics team, got asylum in the United States, and then enlisted as a pathway to citizenship. He was an old man, at least 21. He'd heard about our pool and had driven 75 miles to try it out. The pool had three springboards, the one in the middle, a 3 meter. The pool was 10 feet deep with 25-meter lanes. And we watched Victor swim 4 lengths, 100 meters underwater, and then surface, barely winded. Amazing. Victor watched us children play in a contest of who could displace the most water with a dive. There were cannonballs, can openers, barrel rolls, watermelons, depth charges, and preacher's seats, all calculated positions to enter the water and cause the biggest splash. All spring, during track practice, Danny and David and I discussed new dives, waiting for Memorial Day and the pool to open. Who can make the biggest splash and how? Victor watched us carefully while patiently waiting in line for his first time on the 3 meter board. When it was his turn, he climbed the 10-foot ladder, adjusted the fulcrum as far forward as it would go for the tightest spring, and went out to the end of the board for a couple of little test bounces. Our curiosity was piqued. Danny, David, and I looked at each other and said, this ought to be good. Victor stepped back 3 paces, checked to make sure that the lifeguard was not looking, raised his arms, and gracefully, professionally started his approach. His first bounce took him 10 feet in the air while he was doing a languid, full layout back somersault, a floating crucifix, jackknifing at the apex, and dear Lord, he's going to hit the diving board. And he did. He stuck the landing on the board perfectly, like a flying dismount from an Olympic horizontal bar. The diving board bowed deeper than I had ever seen for a second bounce, which launched him even higher. He's already 10 feet off the surface of the water and 10 more feet on top of that. Going up, he tucked into a tight spin. By the time his face passed the diving board coming down, he'd spun 3.5 times and opened up for a perfect entry. With the speed of free fall and the torque of the spin, he was arrowing perfectly perpendicular to the water at least 50 miles an hour and would slip past its surface with barely a ripple. At the last millisecond, he tucked tight again, and the thunderous thud when he hit the water sounded like a crisp, wet cannon. A solid 6-inch column of water went up 20 feet in the air. And when it opened up, it made a shimmering, prismatic parasol in the Smoky Hill River Valley sun. We had just witnessed a kinetic work of performance art, covering 50 feet of vertical space, up 10, down 10, up 10, down 20, in 4 dimensions, in 4 seconds, painted by the brush of a soaring, spinning human body. A masterpiece. We were stunned, breathless, mouths agape. We were in the presence of an Olympian. Victor didn't even use the ladder. coiled like a spring at the bottom of the pool. He shot up out of the water like a seal being chased by an orca, barely touching the deck with his hands as he sprang to his feet and walked over to Danny, and David, and me and asked, "You guys just want to splice around all summer here? Or do you want to learn how to dive?" "Yes, sir, Coach." So on this Memorial Day, in addition to that story, I lift up Danny and David, dear friends and companions of the swimming pool. They gave their lives for our country in Vietnam 4 and 5 years after this miracle moment in time. The Pool of Bethesda began its life around 800 BC when a dam was built across the Bethsaida Valley as a reservoir for rainwater and spring water bubbling out of the hillside. In 200 BC, the Jewish high priest Simon II enclosed the channel to form a shallow pool on the south downhill side of the dam. Near the sheep gate, this downstream pool was used to bathe and clean sacrificial sheep. With 5 porches, the upstream pool had something for everyone. A place for invalid worshippers of Asclepius, the Greek god of healing. A place for bathers and swimmers. A place for brisk business in concessions. And on the fringes of the pool, a place for squatters, beggars, and the chronically homeless. At its deepest, the pool was 40 feet deep. You better know how to swim. The water rippled from the welling springs and was sometimes turbulent with seismic activity, common to the Jordan Rift Valley, which extends deep into Africa. There were chambers, caves, and shallow baths all around, some of which gave the priests and the priestesses of Asclepius underground access to install billows into boreholes to pump air into the pool and cause bubbling, kind of like an ancient jacuzzi. Offerings could be solicited to elicit bubbling. Helpers could be hired to manage getting people into the water. It was lucrative. It was a racket. You could pay to get wet and hope to get well. Food, wine, drinking water, towels also available for a nominal fee. It was strong economic competition with the temple offerings. From the pool, you could look uphill and see the temple. That's the pool. Now here's the man. In Greek, the word for paralyzed is paralutos. Kind of simple. Here's a surprise. That word is not in the text. Asthenia is the word that John uses. In a positive spin, it means strengthlessness, weakness, impotence, infirmity, sickliness. That's the empathetic way of looking at it. A few more negative synonyms include sluggish, stagnant, inert, slack, impotent, idle, lazy. Let's be nice and stick with strengthless, okay? A multitude of people with these characteristics is described as habitués of the pool. Jesus now, he's been there many times for many holy day celebrations. He knows what exactly to expect. As a child, he played there. The strengthless man, he's been there 38 years. That's longer than the average lifespan of a man back then. He must be doing pretty well. Jesus saw him every year when Jesus was there for religious festivals. City children were Jesus's friends. The pool was a fun place to play and cool off and meet people. Jesus had probably seen this strengthless man plying his trade for maybe 25 years. The strengthless man, as an infant and child, would have been a beggarly gold mine for his hungry family. And then, when he reached adulthood at age 12, his career path was set. He lived at the pool. The pallet Jesus tells him to pick up and walk away with, it's not a beach towel. It's not a yoga mat. It's a bed made of branches and twigs and leaves and fronds. It would be heavy. It would be awkward to move. Moving it would make you lose your place. It took a long time to get there, close to the pool, where almsgiving was the most generous. Some scholars read this, they say it represents the common Jewish people kept weak and dependent on the debilitating Roman laws and rabbinical traditions. And it was true, that did happen. It might simply mean, though, for anybody else, that anybody can get stuck and Jesus can jar them into action. On the other hand, John, the gospel writer, is a master of language. He has fun with it. In Greek, it would sound something like this. Jesus tells the weak man to pick up your krabaton on the sabbaton and periapete. I mean, it sounds funny. It sounds delightful. And it rolls off your tongue a whole lot better than terse monosyllabic Anglo-Saxon speech. Pick up your bed, walk. It's a day off. Krabaton on the sabbaton, periapete. It's poetry. And this man who's capitalized on being perceived as a weak victim, he doesn't anywhere in the text ask for healing. He's doing fine. He would not welcome a radical change of lifestyle. Faith's not mentioned as an issue here, unless you buy into the magical water scam. Clearly, neither Jesus nor the man believe in that silliness. 38 years was time enough for continental drift to drop him in the pool without moving a muscle. And Jesus doesn't do anything that resembles a healing ritual or a doctor-patient patronage where you pay for treatment and hopefully it gets results. It's a simple setup. Jesus saw him, he knew him, and he said to him, "Do you want to be strong?" Once again, we have a Greek word that means healthy, whole, restored to family and faith community, sound in body, mind, opinion, view, and logic, strong, clean, hygienic, shalom. And this man doesn't even consent to these improvements. He's happy being stuck. Jesus is not comfortable with him being stuck. You know, there's a man who had really bad body odor, and he went to the doctor. Doctor gave him a thorough examination. He said, "You know, I can't find anything wrong with you, but you really stink. What do you do for a living?" Man said, "Well, I work at the airport, cleaning and emptying the toilets on the big airplanes. I work under the plane, so a lot of times blue water and excretions spill out onto me." The doctor said, "Well, it smells like you need to find a new job." The man protested. He said, "What? Get out of aviation?" There you go. When Jesus encountered the weak man, he saw potential. He didn't see deficiency. He saw soundness and wholeness lurking in the wings. He saw someone who had given up, and all he needed to do was stand up. You know, we have things that prop us up in our stuckness, the magic words, the healing pools, the comfortable palate, the steady income, the pitiable but profitable weakness, the excuses, and all the really logical reasons why not. Jesus says, "Take your bed, pick it up, don't return to the weakness." The mat is a welcome, trigger. We call them triggers now. As long as the mat is near the pool, the weak man will go back and relapse because of the trigger of the mat into cozy hopelessness, stuck in manageable worries and weakness. Jesus redirects our focus away from the pool and toward God. Don't look at the pool, look up at the temple. One can see the temple from the pool. Jesus reconnects us to God out of the isolation of the worldly worries. Get off the couch and get involved. Take your skeleton out of the closet and teach it how to dance. Jesus asks, "Do you want to be strong?" What is our impediment? Is it self-imposed? Where am I comfortably stuck? What do I need to change or let go? Is there anger or grief holding back forgiveness that weakens? Jesus makes us sound healthy and whole. He does it, no questions asked, before we even know it's necessary. Maybe no stipulations other than pick up the impediment and walk away with it. Jesus doesn't even check us to see if we're deserving or not. He simply proceeds to make us sound and whole. This is the good news. Jesus came into the world that we might have life and have it abundantly. John 10:10. Do you want to be strong? Amen.